So, you made it through the first 50, which means you've already seen how America somehow turned bad parenting, movie logic, store policy, and public paranoia into a fake legal system people obey like it came down on stone tablets. Unfortunately, that was the easy half, because now we're getting into the myths people believe about recording police, workplace rules, ID laws, cash, property, trespassing, and self-defense. The kind of fake legal knowledge that makes people sound informed right before they say something unbelievably stupid. Let's open the second half of the file. Fact 50. The always show ID myth. On a roadside stop in Nevada, one passenger started panicking because he thought everyone in the car legally had to hand over ID the moment an officer walked up. The driver was confused, the officer was annoyed, and the myth was doing most of the work. ID rules depend heavily on who is being stopped, why, and where. But America prefers fake legal certainty, delivered loudly by people who have never read anything longer than a bumper sticker. Fact 51. The police recording panic. On a sidewalk in New York, a tourist pulled out his phone to film a traffic stop from several feet away, when another bystander rushed over and whispered that recording police was definitely illegal. Illegal to whom exactly? The camera police? In many public situations, filming officers is lawful if you are not interfering. America has turned public official in public into a fake legal ghost story because authority looks a lot less magical once somebody hits record. Fact 52. The phone call recording myth. At a diner in Pennsylvania, one guy proudly told his friend he could secretly record any phone call in America as long as he was one of the people talking. That is a beautifully confident thing to say, while being wrong across multiple states at once. Recording laws vary, especially on consent rules, but America hears one legal concept once and immediately turns it into a coast-to-coast commandment. Apparently, pancakes now come with side orders of misinformation. Fact 53. The house photo freakout. In a suburban neighborhood in California, a real estate photographer was shooting from the sidewalk when a homeowner stormed out, yelling that photographing a private house was against federal privacy law. Federal privacy law. About a visible front yard. That is an extraordinary amount of legal imagination in one bathrobe. From a lawful public spot, taking photos is not automatically criminal just because someone hates it. America keeps mistaking discomfort for legislation and suspicion for jurisdiction. Fact 54. The store employee camera myth. Inside a supermarket in Illinois, a customer started filming a nasty return argument when another shopper leaned over and said recording employees was definitely illegal without permission. That sounds official until you remember most people get legal advice from cousins and bad signage. Stores can set policy and ask you to stop, sure, but the law is not that simple. America treats every awkward customer service moment like it's governed by the Geneva Conventions and mall gossip. Fact 55. The license plate privacy legend. At a parking lot in Dallas, one woman saw a man photographing cars after a fender bender and told him license plates were private information and he could get sued just for taking the picture. That is a wildly popular myth for something bolted to the outside of a vehicle on purpose. A plate is literally designed to be seen in public. America somehow made visible identification sound like classified intelligence because basic facts apparently need drama now. Fact 56. The government building myth. Outside a courthouse in Arizona, a tourist took a few pictures of the exterior and immediately got warned by another pedestrian that photographing government buildings was illegal and could get Homeland Security involved. That escalated quickly for a guy holding a phone near some columns. Restrictions can exist in specific places, yes, but America loves turning ordinary public photography into spy thriller nonsense. We really built a whole fake legal universe where architecture now counts as top secret. Fact 57. The dashcam delusion. At a red light in Ohio, one driver noticed a dashcam mounted on another car and told his passenger, those things were not legal in most states anyway. That's a fantastic amount of certainty for someone who had clearly never checked a single state rule in his life. Mounting and placement laws can vary, but dashcams themselves are not some outlaw gadget category. America sees one little camera on a windshield and starts talking like the CIA just installed surveillance in a Honda. Fact 58. The home camera free-for-all myth. In suburban Florida, one homeowner pointed a security camera straight across the neighbor's yard and insisted it was legal because my camera can face anywhere on my property. That is exactly the kind of sentence people say right before a very boring legal dispute gets expensive. Camera use, privacy expectations, and placement are messier than that smug little slogan suggests. America loves simple fake rules, especially when they make people feel powerful, righteous, and deeply undereducated. Fact 59. The consent to film fantasy. At a public park in Oregon, a guy started filming his kids when a stranger walked through the background and immediately announced that everybody on camera had to give consent or the video was illegal. That is one of America's favorite fake laws because it sounds tidy, moral, and completely made up. In many public places, that blanket rule is nonsense. The country keeps confusing "I don't like this" with "the law forbids this," which is how myths keep reproducing. Fact 60. The audio recording shortcut. At a coffee shop in North Carolina, one woman told her friend that audio recording laws were the same everywhere, and you could use the same rule in every state if you just looked confident. That is maybe the most American legal strategy imaginable. Wrong, loud, and weirdly optimistic. Recording law varies a lot, especially with consent rules. But nuance is bad for vibes, so people replace it with fake certainty and then act shocked when actual law fails to match the podcast version. Fact 61. The salary discussion scare tactic. At an office break room in Michigan, one employee whispered that discussing salaries was literally illegal and could get everyone fired or even sued. He said it like payroll law was written by cartoon villains. In reality, workers often have more protection here than bosses want them to realize. America built a fake legal taboo around talking money because silence is profitable. Apparently, the most dangerous thing in some offices isn't fraud, it's two underpaid people comparing notes. Fact 62. The boss can control your entire life. Myth. At a warehouse in Texas, one worker told another that their boss could legally fire them for any off-duty behavior he didn't like, including what they posted, wore, or did on weekends. That is the kind of myth managers love, and labor lawyers quietly drink to forget. Workplace power is real, but it is not infinite, and law does not magically turn your supervisor into emperor of your Saturday night. America keeps confusing fear at work with actual legal authority. Fact 63. The HOA Emperor Fantasy. In a suburban neighborhood in Arizona, one homeowner acted like the HOA president had the same legal power as a county judge, a police chief, and possibly God. He warned a neighbor that violating a landscaping rule was basically illegal now. No, HOA rules can be annoying, expensive, and absurd, but they are not criminal law. America keeps mistaking petty neighborhood bureaucracy for government power because nothing terrifies people like clipboards, beige houses, and confidence in a polo shirt. Fact 64. The school search myth. At a high school in Ohio, one student insisted the principal could never search his backpack without a warrant because that's the Constitution. That sounds noble until it collides with how schools actually operate. Student rights matter, but school rules and legal standards are not identical to random street encounters with police. America loves flattening every legal issue into one slogan from one courtroom show. Apparently, civics education is now just kids yelling amendments at assistant principals near vending machines. Fact 65. The final paycheck panic. At a restaurant in Georgia, a server quit, and another coworker warned her the manager could legally hold her final paycheck as punishment for leaving without enough notice. That is exactly the kind of myth bad employers keep alive with vibes and threats. Wage laws vary, but bosses are not medieval landlords collecting exit revenge by law. America keeps treating payroll abuse like it is just one of life's quirky little legal facts. It is not quirky, it is just illegal nonsense wearing a tie. Fact 66. The phone confiscation law myth. At a high school in Florida, one kid got his phone taken, and another student dramatically announced that schools could legally keep it forever if they wanted. Forever? What is this, a feudal kingdom with lockers? Schools can discipline, yes, but America keeps turning temporary confiscation into some mythical permanent property seizure authorized by the ghost of discipline past. Apparently, one buzzing iPhone now inspires legal rumors that sound like they were written by a vice principal during a power outage. Fact 67. The dress code arrest myth. At a shopping mall in Tennessee, one teenager got stopped by security for a store dress code issue, and his friend immediately panicked, saying you could actually be arrested for violating dress code. Arrested? For a tank top? That is a heroic misunderstanding of both law and khaki authority. Businesses can refuse service, sure, but America keeps translating "you can't come in dressed like that" into "the state has entered the chat." The fashion police are rude. They are not literal police. Fact 68. The company policy constitution myth. At a tech office in California, one employee insisted private companies had to honor free speech exactly the way the government does, because rights are rights. That sounds neat, dramatic, and deeply incomplete. Constitutional protections do not automatically function like a magic force field inside every private workplace, app, office, and Slack channel in America. The country keeps flattening legal reality into bumper sticker philosophy. It turns out law is more complicated than one guy with a lanyard and a podcast. Fact 69. The permanent student record horror story. At a middle school in Missouri, a teacher warned students that one bad disciplinary mark would follow them forever, and several kids believed it, with the terror usually reserved for ghost stories and cafeteria meat. America has terrified generations with the mythical permanent record, like it's an FBI vault for 12-year-olds who talk too much in math. Discipline matters, yes, but the folklore is always bigger and scarier than reality. Apparently, childhood now comes with bureaucratic urban legends. Fact 70. The employer ID myth. At a retail job in Nevada, one worker said the company could legally demand employees hand over personal ID at any time because they sign your paycheck. That is exactly the sort of sentence that sounds true when spoken loudly next to a time clock by someone with no idea what they're talking about. Employers have policies and procedures, but America constantly confuses pay authority with total legal power. A paycheck is not a crown, and your manager is not the DMV. Fact 71. The Miranda reset button myth. Outside a nightclub in Nevada, one guy got arrested and immediately announced to everyone watching that the cops had already lost the case because nobody had read him Miranda yet. He said it like he'd just activated a legal cheat code. Miranda matters in specific ways, but it is not a reset button that makes reality vanish. America treats one TV phrase like it's a spell from Hogwarts for people in handcuffs. It is law, not wizardry. Fact 72. The "if I'm innocent, I should talk" myth. At a traffic stop in Ohio, one passenger told the driver that innocent people should always answer every police question because only guilty people stay quiet. That is one of America's favorite bad takes, mostly because it sounds moral and feels simple. Real life is messier, and just explain everything is not some magical shield against misunderstanding, escalation, or bad outcomes. This country really turned legal caution into suspicious behavior and called that wisdom. Fact 73. The warrant for everything fantasy. In a suburban neighborhood in Texas, a man refused to speak with officers because he believed police could not legally do anything at all without physically holding a warrant in front of his face. He kept demanding paperwork like he was canceling cable service. Warrants matter in many situations, but not in the cartoonishly universal way Americans imagine. The country took one real legal concept, stretched it across every scenario, and now treats nuance like it's an anti-freedom conspiracy. Fact 74. The police can't lie delusion. At a diner in Missouri, one woman insisted police were legally forbidden from lying during questioning because that would be entrapment. That sentence deserves its own support group. Police deception and entrapment are not the same thing, and America keeps mashing legal vocabulary together like a toddler building sandwiches out of random ingredients. This country heard two scary law words on TV and decided they were interchangeable. They are not. It's just misinformation wearing dramatic sunglasses. Fact 75. The "am I free to go" magic phrase. During a late-night stop in Arizona, a college kid told his friends that if you ask, "Am I free to go?" police legally have to let you leave immediately. He delivered it with the swagger of a man carrying a secret unlock code for civilization. It is an important question, yes, but it is not a Jedi mind trick. America keeps turning useful legal language into fantasy dialogue, then acting shocked when actual police procedure refuses to follow internet folklore. Fact 76. The consent search myth. At a roadside stop in Georgia, one man whispered to his cousin that if police ask nicely to search your car, you legally have to say yes, or it looks suspicious. That is exactly how fake law wins in America, by sounding polite, practical, and completely wrong. Consent means something. Refusal means something. And if you've got nothing to hide is not a statute. This country keeps confusing social pressure with legal obligation and calling it common sense. Fact 77. The phone unlock panic. Outside a music venue in Florida, one guy insisted police could force anyone to unlock their phone on the spot because it's their job to look through stuff. That is a deeply American sentence. Broad, loud, and legally undercooked. Phone access rules can get complex fast. And your device is not just some digital glove compartment with zero protection. America built an entire mythology where authority plus confidence automatically equals legal permission. It does not. It just sounds good to people who hate nuance. Fact 78. The refusal equals guilt myth. At a house party in Pennsylvania, one guest confidently told everyone that refusing a search automatically makes you look guilty in the eyes of the law. He said it like he was quoting from a sacred legal tablet carved in barbecue sauce. Real life is not that simple. America keeps treating rights like suspicious behavior because it is emotionally easier than understanding procedure. Apparently, the country would rather demonize caution than admit legal systems are not powered by vibes. Fact 79. The I pay your salary theory. During a heated sidewalk argument in California, one man yelled at an officer that because he paid taxes, the police were legally obligated to do whatever he demanded. That line survives because it is satisfying, not because it is correct. Paying taxes does not transform you into your city's angry customer manager. America keeps treating public employees like a weird hybrid of constitutional servants and retail associates. A badge is not a service bell. And yelling doesn't turn law into concierge work. Fact 80. The just explain it fantasy. At a college campus stop in North Carolina, one student told another that the smartest legal strategy was always to keep talking until the officer understood your side. That sounds wholesome, right up until law, stress, memory, and human error all get involved. America loves the fairy tale that if you are innocent and articulate enough, the system simply nods and sends you home. Real procedure is not a therapy circle. Sometimes silence has better legal instincts than you do. Fact 81. The cash-only law myth. At a coffee shop in Boston, a man tried to pay with a $100 bill, got told they were card-only, and immediately announced that refusing cash was literally illegal in America. He said it like he was defending the Constitution with a scone in his hand. Cash is legal tender, yes, but that does not automatically force every business to accept it in every situation. America keeps treating money rules like patriotic fan fiction written in line. Fact 82. The found money heist theory. On a sidewalk in Chicago, a teenager found a $20 bill, and his friend instantly told him keeping it was basically theft unless you turn it in to the police. That is an impressive amount of legal confidence for two people standing next to gum stains in a bus schedule. Lost property rules can get messy, sure, but America loves fake legal absolutes. We really turned sidewalk cash into a moral thriller with government paperwork and zero actual reading. Fact 83. The gift receipt delusion. At a department store in Ohio, a woman tried returning a wedding gift without a receipt and then got furious because she thought stores were legally required to take back any unopened item. Required by whom? The refund constitution? Return policies exist, laws vary, and your cousin's blender is not protected by some sacred National Exchange Act. America keeps confusing customer expectation with legal entitlement, which is why every return counter eventually turns into low-budget courtroom theater near scented candles. Fact 84. The coupon crime fantasy. At a grocery store in Florida, one shopper watched another stack a pile of store coupons and whispered that it was technically fraud because nobody's allowed to save that much legally. That is such a beautifully American suspicion. If the discount is large enough, it must be a felony. Real coupon fraud exists, sure, but using valid deals like an organized raccoon is not automatically criminal. America cannot tell the difference between smart shopping and white-collar serial crime. Fact 85. The wrong scan jackpot myth. At a supermarket in Texas, a box of cereal rang up higher than the shelf tag, and the customer instantly announced that store policy and the law meant the item had to be free. Free, because a barcode was confused for 6 seconds. Some places have pricing rules, yes, but America has turned every scanner error into fantasy game show economics. Apparently, one mispriced granola box now triggers a constitutional right to victory, applause, and a bonus trip to aisle 7. Fact 86. The no refund stone tablet. At a boutique in Arizona, a shopper saw a no refund sign and immediately told her friend that once a store puts those words on paper, that's legally final, no matter what. That is adorable. Signs are not magical shields forged by the retail gods. Consumer protections, card disputes, and actual law do not vanish because somebody used bold font near a cash register. America keeps confusing laminated confidence with legal power, which explains most customer service folklore. Fact 87. The change for any bill myth. At a corner store in Georgia, a man tried buying a bottle of water with a $100 bill and got furious when the cashier refused, insisting businesses were legally required to make change for any U.S. currency. He said it like the Treasury Department was about to rappel through the ceiling. No, stores are not emergency bill-breaking centers by default. America keeps treating every minor inconvenience like a civil rights case with gum, lotto tickets, and very loud opinions. Fact 88. The gift card never dies. Myth. At a mall in California, a woman found an old gift card in her purse and confidently told the cashier that gift cards can't expire by law. Ever. Ever is doing a lot of work there. Federal rules exist, yes, but fees, dates, state exceptions, and brand policies make this far messier than America's favorite one-sentence myth. The country keeps talking about gift cards like they are immortal little plastic bonds, blessed by Congress and powered by wishful thinking. Fact 89. The porch package freebie myth. In suburban Pennsylvania, a teenager spotted a package left on a neighbor's porch and said nobody could get in trouble for taking it because once it's outside, it's abandoned property. That is not legal reasoning. That is piracy with sweatpants. A package left at a house is not a public giveaway just because weather exists. America keeps turning theft into loophole poetry, then acts shocked when the police fail to applaud the creativity. Cardboard is not consent. Fact 90. The card surcharge myth. At a pizza counter in Missouri, a customer saw a small card fee and immediately launched into a speech about how charging extra for card use was flat out illegal everywhere in the United States. Everywhere. All 50 states, one mozzarella-fueled declaration. Rules around surcharges are real, but they are not that simple or universal. America loves replacing legal nuance with one angry sentence and then yelling it at cashiers who make $11 an hour and absolutely do not set banking policy. Fact 91. The no-sign trespassing genius. In rural Alabama, one man walked across a private field to fish in a pond and told the owner he was totally legal because there was no giant no trespassing sign posted. That is one of America's favorite fake loopholes. If the warning isn't printed big enough, the land becomes public in your head. Property rights do not vanish because the fence lacked subtitles. This is not legal strategy. It is confidence wearing boots and losing an argument with dirt. Fact 92. The my yard, my rules warrior. In suburban Texas, one homeowner told a neighbor he could do literally anything to someone who stepped into his yard because private property gave him total legal power. Apparently, some people think a lawn automatically turns them into a low-budget king. Property rights matter, yes, but America keeps confusing ownership with unlimited force, which is how backyard nonsense turns into courtroom reality. Buying mulch does not make you a warlord, even if you say it loudly by the mailbox. Fact 93. The stand your ground fan fiction. At a cookout in Florida, one guy started explaining that stand your ground laws meant you could basically do whatever you wanted the moment you felt threatened. That sentence should come with legal supervision and maybe a tranquilizer. Self-defense law is not a permission slip for panic, ego, or fantasy heroism. America took a serious legal concept, fed it through cable news and bar talk, and turned it into macho bedtime stories for people who desperately need fewer opinions and more reading. Fact 94. The porch trap inventor. In suburban Georgia, a man got his packages stolen twice and then announced he could legally booby-trap the next one because they broke the law first. That sounds satisfying, right up until reality arrives with statutes and consequences. America loves revenge myths, especially when cardboard and rage are involved. But setting traps is not some glorious homeowner loophole written by Batman. A porch is not a legal free fire zone. It is just a porch, with worse ideas than usual. Fact 95. the abandoned means mine philosopher. At an apartment complex in Ohio, one tenant grabbed a bicycle leaning by the dumpster and told everyone it was fine because anything near trash was legally abandoned. That is an astonishing amount of certainty for a man standing next to 3 suspicious couch cushions and a broken lamp. Property law is not that emotionally convenient. America keeps turning found objects into moral scavenger hunts with fake legal justification. If your whole defense starts with, well, it looked unwanted, maybe stop talking. Fact 96. The driveway sovereignty myth. In the neighborhood in Missouri, a man parked across part of the sidewalk and insisted no one could say anything because it was his driveway on his property. That is a classic American misunderstanding. Buy a house, invent a kingdom. Local rules, public access, and easements do not dissolve because your mailbox has your name on it. America loves pretending private property extends exactly as far as someone's confidence. Sadly, zoning law and delusion are not the same measurement system. Fact 97. The I can take it back by force. Genius. After a phone got snatched outside a bar in Arizona, one man confidently announced that if he spotted the thief later, he could legally take it back however necessary because it was his property. That is not law. That is action movie poisoning with terrible impulse control. Ownership matters, but it does not magically suspend every other rule the second your stuff goes missing. America keeps raising people on the idea that stolen property unlocks vigilante mode. It does not. Fact 98. The HOA law prophet. In a beige suburban development in North Carolina, one homeowner told the neighbor that violating HOA rules was basically the same as breaking city law. That is the kind of sentence only grows in places with matching mailboxes and too much free time. HOA rules can absolutely make your life miserable. They are still not criminal code handed down from the governor's office. America keeps mistaking petty neighborhood bureaucracy for actual government power because clipboards apparently cast powerful spells. Fact 99. The fence equals total privacy myth. In California, a man built a tall backyard fence and then started telling people it was illegal to photograph or look into the yard at all because the fence created automatic total privacy by law. That is not how visibility, privacy, or reality work. America loves the fantasy that one purchase from a home improvement store can rewrite the entire legal universe. A fence can block a view. It does not summon a magical anti-camera force field over your inflatable hot tub. Fact 100. The verbal warning covers everything myth. At a rural property in Tennessee, one man insisted that as long as he yelled, "I warned you," before reacting to trespassers, he would be legally protected, no matter what happened next. That is a terrifying amount of confidence for a rule he almost certainly learned from another man standing near a truck. Verbal warnings can matter in some contexts. They are not universal legal armor. America keeps turning one loud sentence into a fake shield for every bad impulse after it. Fact 101. The biggest fake law of all. At a backyard cookout in Indiana, one guy confidently explained half the legal system to everyone around the grill and got almost every word wrong. Nobody checked him. Nobody Googled it. They all just nodded and absorbed it like scripture. And that is probably the dumbest fake law in America. If something sounds official enough, people obey it instantly. This country is not just controlled by real laws. It is controlled by rumors wearing confident voices. That's the real joke. A lot of Americans are not living under the law. They're living under store policy, TV nonsense, family folklore, bad signage, and one loud guy who sounds sure of himself. And somehow, that works. Because in America, you do not always need a real law to control people. Sometimes all you need is a rumor, a warning sign, and enough confidence to say it like you mean it.